What's up, guys? Toogie here, back again with my Boston Bruins franchise mode here on NHL 17. This is episode 4, and in this episode, we make a big-time trade. Now, obviously, we've had the deals to move out the likes of Kevin Miller and Adam McQuaid thus far, and we will still look to make a minor deal. I think we need to move Brian Gianna out. So just factor in, say Jimmy Hayes is in Gianna's spot. That would leave Dominic Moore on the fourth line, who I'd like to move out because we have Noel Acciari and Austin Czarnik down in Providence. And despite them both being, well, actually one's a depth forward and one's a fourth line forward, I'd like to get both of them into the lineup as well. So I think by the trade deadline, Dominic Moore, Brian Gianna, and Jimmy Hayes could be on their way out. Which means the big trade I'm talking about that we are going to kick off the episode with comes on defense. I really like where we are currently at defensively. Colin Miller needs to be on that third pairing, and I want somebody better and a long-term solution for John Michael Liles to play with Torrey Krug. That's the thing. We are in a playoff spot, and with a few minor tweaks, we can not only be set up pretty well for the future, but we can be set up to be at least a problem for teams in the playoffs. And as it is, we are in first place in our division. So like I said, Dominic Moore, Jimmy Hayes, and Brian Gianna are players that could be on their way out very shortly. But there is a player that we are going to pick up. And I will give you guys a little bit of a backstory. You can probably take a guess who it is. But story time here, guys. Story time. There is a player agent. He is the founder of KO Sports. His name is Kevin Overhart. Now, Kevin Overhart is the agent for some very prominent NHLers, the likes of Kyle Turris, Brandon Dubinsky, and Ryan Johansson. Now, what do those three players have in common? All three of them, at one point, were holdouts who would not sign new contracts. That's not all. All three of them were holdouts who eventually signed only to be traded. Kyle Turris, of course, from Arizona to Ottawa, Dubinsky from New York to Columbus, and Ryan Johansson from Columbus to Nashville. And there's a recent deal that's happened. You may know what I'm talking about, where there was a holdout, and this player, whose agent is Kevin Overhart, has eventually signed and rescinded his trade request. But odds are he won't remain with this current team. I'm going to cut to the chase. We're trading for Jacob Trouba. So I know I've been saying, hey, we want to keep it realistic. If anybody in the world thinks it would not be realistic to trade for Jacob Trouba right now, I just gave you a nice little history lesson that should change your mind. We are bringing him in. He will play either with Krug or with Chara. I'm not quite sure where we want him. He's not having the best season, not having the worst, and of course is on a decent contract. Now, I also want to attempt to get their second-round pick. We don't have a second-round pick in the upcoming draft. If I don't even want to get into why the Bruins don't have that. It's Brett Connolly. That's the answer. But to make this happen, I am going to give up a decent amount here because, again, I want to view trades as would I make that trade if I was the one being offered it. So what we're going to do is we're going to hand them John Michael Liles for the moment because I'll actually get you a look at the Winnipeg defense. They have Byfuglien. Actually, let me sort by overall. Byfuglien, Myers, Liles, Enstrom, Morrissey, and Kevin Miller. Now, they also could use a decent defenseman who is close to making the NHL. I mean, you have Logan Stanley and, was it Luke Green, I believe? Luke Green. But they're a little bit of a ways away. So we're going to give up a guy who I would love to keep, but I think it's the right move. We're going to tack on Rob O'Gara. We are not done there. And this is what hurts, because we have to give up a decent prospect. And I believe I'm going to try Solaric. It's probably going to have to be Forsbacka Karlsson or Anders Bjork. We are also tacking on Oskar Steen, and we're going to have to tack on a later draft pick. We will see if this goes through and if we can avoid having to give up Karlsson or Bjork. But to me, is this trade a little bit one-sided? You could argue. I mean, we are handing over 2 decent prospects and a decent defensive prospect. For Trouba and a second, that might be a little bit much, and that's actually not enough to do it. I don't want to offer a higher pick. So Solaric isn't going to be good enough. We are going to have to give up Anders Bjork or Forsbacka Karlsson. And that's the thing. I would like to keep both, in fairness. I really would. Forsbacka Karlsson, a playmaker, 20 years old. And I'm tempted to keep him because at least he's a face-off guy. We could play him at the wing, or we could play him at center as compared to Anders Bjork. So that is the tough decision. Bjork actually has a little bit more trade value, which is weird. Medium top 9 is apparently better than low bottom 6. I'm going to go with Forsbacka Karlsson. I don't know why. Oh, God, who do we go with? See, this is the one part of the trade that I had not decided on, to be honest. Forsbacka Karlsson or Bjork. I'm going to go with Anders Bjork instead. I'm going to go with Anders Bjork. Forsbacka Karlsson is at least decent at face-offs, and that could be useful. It makes him a little bit more versatile. So we will see. Now, I believe this will go through. So Lyles, their immediate replacement for Trouba. Rob O'Gara, who is just a step away from the NHL level. Oskar Steen, a decent prospect, a 6th-round pick, and Anders Bjork. So you get 3 prospects, John Michael Lyles, and a 6th for Trouba, and a 2nd. In real life, would we have to give up a little bit more? Sure, but at the end of the day, it's a video game, and we're doing what we have to do. Jacob Trouba is the newest Boston Bruin, and that will hopefully shore up our defense moving forward. We really don't need to make any more moves. Now it's just a matter of time of just waiting it out and hoping that our prospects progress quickly enough that we don't need to trade for anybody. Now, let's see here. Do I want a 2-way forward or a 2-way defender and an offensive defenseman together is the question. Carlo and Chara have actually been a great pairing. So we'll play Krug and Trouba together, and then Morrow and Miller down on third pairing. You will notice, too, I made some changes to the player types. I'll try to remember which ones. Morrow, we switched to a defensive D-man. What else did we do? Marchand's still a 2-way. Again, tempted to change him to a sniper or a playmaker, but in real life he is more of a 2-way. Pasternak has been changed from a playmaker to a sniper. Spooner's still a playmaker, still a power forward. Matt Bolesky has been changed from a grinder to a power forward. He's not bad offensively, so I'd like him to hopefully try to put up numbers like he did with Anaheim. Gianna has been switched to a playmaker from a sniper. Vetrano is now a sniper, and Tim Schaller is actually still the same. So like I said, for now the lineup will remain the same, but I still plan on getting rid of Gianna, Dominic Moore, and Jimmy Hayes. I just want to wait until Hayes is back. I mean, I could trade the other 2 immediately. And actually, you know what? Fuck it. Let's get him out of here. Let's trade away Dominic Moore and Brian Gianna. And then once Jimmy Hayes is healthy, we'll be good to go. We will get Zarnik and Noel Achari on to the main team. So big trade number 1 is done. Trouba is the newest Boston Bruin. Now we need, of course, to get this next deal done. And I was thinking too, like I could kind of be cheap. I don't know. I'll just make these moves right now, but let me know. Should I go like all out to get draft picks? And what I mean by all out is trading someone like Zach Ronaldo, who is a UFA at the end of the year and who we're just never going to use. Should I try to get a 6th or 7th round pick out of him? Should I just, try to offload as many people as I can? Although guys like Corrali, Ferland, Anton Bleed, I'll be keeping those guys. But Zach Ronaldo is he's actually the major name like that. You know what? He's actually the name like that. I'm going to trade Zach Ronaldo too. This episode is just now going to be purely trades. So we will look to move Zach Ronaldo out of town. You know what? Randy Carlyle would like Zach Ronaldo, wouldn't he? I think he would. Let's see what we can get for old Zach Ronaldo. I wonder if they do a third-round pick. There's no way, right? There's no way. Okay. It was worth a shot. It was worth a shot. Fourth rounder? Could we get more for him? Okay, so no fourth rounder. So we will try a fifth and a sixth the year after. Will that go through? No. So we'll try a fifth and a seventh the year after. Will that go through? No, it will not. Will just the fifth go through? Yes, it will. I'm all right with that. Zach Ronaldo to Anaheim for a fifth-round pick. What did Don Sweeney trade for him? 2/3, and we got at least a fifth back instead of nothing. I'm all right with that. Not a bad bit of business. Let's get these other deals done. Of course, Jimmy Hayes won't be able to be traded yet. He is currently injured, but we can get rid of the other two. Now, I wouldn't mind keeping Dominic Moore. I really wouldn't. Like, he hasn't been terrible in real life for the Bruins or for us really this season. But much like with the defense, we are having to move out some players just to get the prospects in, and Noel Acciari on that fourth line would be probably, I'd say probably more beneficial than Dominic Moore. Although, in saying that, what is Dominic Moore's poise rating? 85. He could be very beneficial for us. Very beneficial for us in the upcoming postseason if we were to make it. Brian Gianna would also probably not be half bad in the upcoming postseason. Zarnik actually has an 80 poise. That's not too bad. What's Noel Acciari's? I mean, if it's not that bad, it's an 80 as well. You know what? Fuck it. I actually think I could have sworn. I don't know if I actually set that to an 80. All right, well, that idea is out the window then. Let's get rid of Dominic Moore. Now, who would want an aging veteran center? Somebody like Chicago. I think Chicago would love to have Dominic Moore, and this way we're probably not guaranteed the best of draft picks. We can't get a third. Can we get a fourth and a sixth is the question. We could. Interesting. Could we get a fourth and a fifth for Dominic Moore? We could. How do you like that? Could we get 2 fourths? There's no way, right? There's no way we could get 2 fourth-round picks. Wow, we could get 2 fourth-round picks for Dominic Moore. Well, I am just going to try and rob Chicago blind here, because why the hell not? That is too far. Is that too far as well? Yes, it is. All right, we'll try it with 6th. Fuck it. This episode is literally just going to be these remaining trade offers. And then, of course, I will leave room for you guys to maybe suggest anything else once you get a look at what I want this roster to be. Can we tack on these 2 sevenths? No. How about 1 7th? No. 2 fourth-round picks for Dominic Moore this year's and next. I am fine with that. That is a solid return for us. And that gets Austin Zarnik on to the main team. We will call up Noel Acciari now as well. Let's go best lines. We still have one more move to make in the meantime, and that is flipping Brian Gianna, as we kind of expected that we would once we got Adam Quaid out of town. Now, who would want Brian Gianna is the question. The LA Kings are 27-9-2. Holy shit. I bet they'd love to have an extra forward just in case, especially because Teddy Purcell might not be what he used to be. So let's see here if we can get a decent return from the LA Kings. And again, these draft picks aren't projected to be too much, but we can just try to grind it out here and see what we get. We will be a little bit cheap about this, and we'll try to bend the system a little bit in our favor. Now keep in mind too, when I talked about draft picks it's going to be the same thing that it was in the Nordique series, where we can only have 12 picks maximum, 3 first-round picks in total. Can I get a second-round pick? No, I can't. I'd love to get LA's second-round pick. What if I tack on our 7th? I would love to get that pick. If I start trading these lower picks, what if I tack on a 5th and a 7th? I want that second-round pick, goddammit. Can we get it, is the question. Maybe a 4th? We do have a 4th. How about Chicago's 4th that we just acquired in Brian Gianna for a 2nd? They don't want Gianna's contract. Shit. Alright, I didn't factor that in as an issue because he does only have 1 year left on his deal. How about 2/3 for Brian Gianna? They still won't take his contract. That could be an issue. Although we could retain salary. If we retain salary, does that carry over? I can't remember. If we were to retain salary this year, would that carry over into future seasons? He's only on a 1-year deal. Still not willing to accept the deal. You know, I'm going to make this work. I don't care. I'm going to make this work. Let's hold 900K. And that went through. You know what? I'm okay with that. Brian Gianna and the 4th round pick to LA. We have to retain a little bit of salary on Gianna. But overall, I am more than okay with that. We have 42 contracts now. And our picks, we have a 1st, 2 seconds, a 3rd. So we're good. We could still manage to bring in more picks if we wanted to. Colby Cave is somebody I want to keep. So is there anybody else? Or are we good to go? I think we're good to go. Aside from Jimmy Hayes, once he is back. Can we actually trade him now? Does it let you trade them now? The New York Islanders would love Jimmy Hayes, wouldn't they? I think Garth Snow would love to have Jimmy Hayes. Unfortunately, I don't have Cal Clutterbuck's new contract in here. My fucking God. Just when you thought that the Islanders weren't complete fucking laughingstocks again, they moved to Brooklyn, and then Garth Snow hands that deal to Cal Clutterbuck. I am so sorry to every Islanders fan. That is absolutely rough. That is a very rough situation to be in, and I do not envy you whatsoever. Can we get this pick? I don't think we're going to be able to get a 3rd, so at the very least, we're not going to get a tremendous amount back for Jimmy Hayes, which is somewhat realistic. How about 2/4 and 2/6 over the next 2 years? That went through. I'm okay with that. We were able to trade Jimmy Hayes despite him being injured. And that puts our team into a pretty good spot, I feel. To be 100% honest with you, let's go best lines here. And this will be the team that we move forward with. We will have Riley Nash on the 3rd line. He is a 3rd line guy. That's perfect. That is the lineup right there. Marchand, Bergeron, Pasternak, Vetrano, Krejci, Backes, Bolesky, Spooner, Nash, Schaller, Achari, and Austin Zarnik. Defensively, we have Chara and Carlo, who has dropped an overall point due to some of the trades, I believe. Krug and Trouba, Morrow, and Miller. And, of course, the goaltender is still Tuukka Rask, who has rebounded fairly well. The question is, will the changes that I've made here backfire on us? There is a pretty strong chance of that happening. And down in the AHL, it's looking like we could sign some of our prospects, maybe. At least those that are over 20, because remember, they were moved to the CHL. If we can't sign anybody, we could just go sign some free agents to try and boost up Providence. Let's check really quick. Fuck it, we're already here. We're actually doing well on cap space as well. But let's see, unsigned players. See, we can't sign McAvoy, but I could sign Forsbacka Carlson. So we will do just that. We will get him onto his entry-level deal. Let's go quickly take a look, because I do want to wrap this episode up as we approach the 20-minute mark. I want to wrap this up, and of course in the next episode we will get back into the sim and maybe make a last-minute trade. Like I said, I'm happy with this team. I mean, Tim Schaller, probably not like this amazing prospect, but still probably worth having on the fourth line for the moment. And down in the AHL, someone like Danton Heinen, Brian Ferlin could still potentially make this roster. But if we look here, is Forsbacka Carlson here? He is not. So it didn't let us sign him. Actually, unless it put him up on the main roster. It might have put him up on the main roster. I just realized that the game does that for some reason. There he is. We can send him down to Providence. That's good. Now let's take a look. And I love how he loses morale. Like you were just fucking signed. So let's see here. We need to sign 3 or 2. 2. We got to look to sign at least 2 players here to slot into this team. So I will take a look at the free agent list between episodes, and we will get 2 players in here that can actually contribute rather than having guys on AHL level deals. That way, if there's injuries, we can call people up. But guys, that is it for this episode. A pretty eventful episode as we trade away some pieces we don't need, and we also bring in Trouba, the new staple of our defense. So Jimmy Hayes, Brian Gianna, and Dominic Moore, as well as Zach Ronaldo, are gone. Trouba is in for Lyles O'Gara and a few other pieces. And like I said, in the next episode, we will get back into the sim. I'm happy with where this team is at. Now it's just a matter of whether or not we can make the playoffs. And that journey continues in the next one. So until then, guys, as always, if you did enjoy this episode, make sure to hit that like button to help support my channel, and subscribe if you haven't already to continue following this series, and I will see you guys next time.